All right. We ready? All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will call to order the February 1st, 2024 City of Kalamazoo Planning Commission meeting. Can we get roll call, please?
Here. Chambers. Curtis.
Here.
Senzo.
Here.
Harrison. Milligan.
Here.
Talco.
Here.
Pitts. And Swan.
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. We received an agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Swan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by DeCenzo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. We also have minutes from the January 4th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Are there any comments, questions, changes? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Oh, motion by Curtis. A second?
Second.
Second by Patelko. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Any communications or announcements? All right, then we'll move right into public hearings. As a reminder, everyone who would like to speak on this will have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium, present your comments. And anyone watching online will be given a chance to speak during the public comment period on each of the 2 public hearings with comments on that particular public hearing. That phone-in number is 888-382-9556. That's also available on the YouTube channel that you are watching. There will also be an opportunity later in the agenda for public comments on non-agenda items. So with that, we will open it up with item number 2024.05, public hearing considering the rezoning of 1316 South Park Street from the CO district to the Live Work 1 LW1 district.
Is it on? There we go. All right, I don't need to yell now. This is the first of 2 rezoning requests you have in front of you tonight. This is a request from the CPED, stands for Community Planning and Economic Development Department. With the rezoning that was done in October, was approved by the City Commission, the large commercial rezoning. Once we went and updated the maps, we found that there were 2 parcels in the almost 1900 missed. So that's the start of the request here. So this first parcel is 1316 South Park Street, which is just north of Crosstown Parkway. And there's a better aerial right there of it. It's south of Forest, west of the ponds there, and it's a vacant parcel. The area around here was zoned. A lot of these parcels were rezoned to Live Work 1. You can see that this one still has the commercial office zoning, and the proposal to put it to Live Work 1 matches the rest of that area, which is a transition area between your busier commercial corridor to the south at Howard and where the road splits. Then as you head further north, turns more residential. As you get up into Vine, and there's a lot of homes and businesses there. So to match that and match that flexibility, this would fill it in. Showing the current land use, you can see how it's currently a vacant parcel surrounded by residential and commercial, which again further supports that Live Work designation that was approved and is proposed here. And as far as future land use, it's shown as commercial in there, and the Live Work zone permits many commercial uses, more than the CO zone district. Going to a photograph of the location. This is a picture standing in Park Street. It's a flat vacant parcel. There's a chiropractor office to the left there, and to the north is a home and another business. It has an approach. A little bit of the property hugs up against the floodplain there where the water gets up high, but certainly big enough to accommodate many uses in the live work zone district. Probably has more flexibility in your dimensional standards than the CO zone district. A couple more items there. There's the view looking to the south, and then to the north where it starts to go up the hill into the residential area. With this proposal as well, a letter was mailed at the beginning of January that's in your packets informing the property owner. The property owner is in Florida, notifying them if they were missed, gave them information on the larger rezoning project, and had the live work sheet to help show the uses and all of that. And then the property owner would have received the notice as well, and then everyone within 300 feet was noticed. We did not receive any feedback or call or contacts about this one here. And in the zoning ordinance, you have there's 5 criteria that should be considered when rezoning a property. And these are the items that are outlined in the staff report. The first one is that to the extent to which the amendment is consistent with the master plan of 2025 in the strategic vision. As you saw in the future land use map, it was consistent with that. It's in alignment with the master plan and the strategic vision. The final chapter of the master plan outlines the tasks related to the code update. The future land use plan guided the changes to the zoning map. So again, that's just another way of saying it aligns it with the future land use map. The extent to which there are change conditions that require an amendment. The changes became necessary again from the adoption of the master plan, and we had our future land use map, which slowly and incrementally through the years we've been removing some zones, introducing new zones, and the live work. This is one of those areas of the town that was identified as live work and has that multiple land uses, which permits greater flexibility to match the surrounding and existing uses. The extent to which the proposed amendment addresses a demonstrated community need. Again, this is doing the work in support of getting the map in alignment with the future land use. The extent to which the proposed amendment is compatible with the existing and proposed uses surrounding the subject property, through the existing land use map and the photographs. Even as you go down Forest Street, you have an office building, a residence, commercial park. It really does encapsulate that transitionary land use zoning from the intense commercial up into the neighborhood. So live work would definitely fit well there. And the extent to which the proposed amendment would result in logical and orderly development pattern. It will support that logic and orderly development pattern. In some sense, the CO zone really restricted to a specific type of commercial office, and those uses are still permitted, and there's a greater flexibility, say if someone wanted to put some residences there, and with the housing shortage, that helps that as well. So that was staff's determination, going through those criteria. And if you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Great. Any clarifying questions for staff at this point?
Just that you said you didn't receive any comments from the neighbors, but you didn't receive any comments from the property owner either?
Nope.
Okay.
No returned mail either.
Okay.
And just to reiterate something that was in the staff report, the CO district was removed from the ordinance with these latest changes?
Thank you, Chair Milliken. Yes, and perhaps most importantly, the property is a zone which does not exist in the zoning ordinance. So that could create a conundrum when we go to look at the standards and they don't exist, even though it's something on the map. So,
Great, thank you.
I'm just a little interested in sort of the history and how I appreciate you guys going through the process and cleaning it up. I'm kind of curious about who found it or if it's just a GIS glitch and what went into that. Thanks.
I will give credit. It's one of our GIS administrator for the city. His name is Ben Clark. Once the commission made a decision, we send a work order to get it updated. And that's when he noticed it. If I had to guess, when you zoomed in on these parcels, there was a tiny piece not colored. So if you're searching, select all CO, the computer probably goes, it's not full, I don't recognize it. That's my best theory.
All right, any other questions? All right, seeing no other questions, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward or call in now. Again, number 888-382-9556. Give a minute to check. No calls. All right, then we will close the public hearing. Any other technical questions, comments? If not, we'll take a motion to approve or recommend approval to the City Commission of the rezoning 1316 South Park Street from the commercial office to the Live Work 1 district, so we can open discussion.
I will move to approve.
All right, motion by Curtis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Swan. All right, is there any discussion on the motion?
Seems like it makes sense. It's a procedural clarification.
Yes, it pretty much satisfies all the requirements of the zoning ordinance for a rezoning and is consistent with everything we talked about just a few months ago. So, any other comments? All right, can we get a roll call vote?
Burgess,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
DeCenzo,
Yes.
Harrison. Yes. Milliken,
Yes.
Patelko,
Yes.
and Swan.
Yes.
All right. Item 2, 2024.06, public hearing to consider rezoning of 107 Reed Avenue from the CN1 Commercial Local Neighborhood District to the RM15 Residential Multi-Dwelling Neighborhood, or District.
All right, and I'll try to be a little more brief with this one. It's the same scenario. This was a parcel that was not picked up in the rezoning. It's a single-family dwelling at 107 Reed. The house has been there a very long time, and it was not picked up, and it creates the same issue with this dwelling. The property is a zone. The CN1 district, like the CO district, was one of the ones eliminated in the October rezoning. The situation here is, you can see the single-family home there. As you go to the east down Reed is strictly a residential street all the way down there. The residential multifamily district, there's some single-family homes. Some have been converted to duplexes, and you can see it just behind those businesses on Burdick there. The current zoning, after obviously that rezoning in October, you can see that everything to the east is residential, matching where the residences and homes are, and you can even see how Burdick transitions to residential. And through the commercial rezoning, those commercial and religious uses there are all live work. And even throughout that stretch of Burdick, again, you have some businesses, some homes. The current land use recognizes as well the residential nature of the property. Underneath that hashing, you can see that it's yellow residential, and you can see the commercial and residential up along Burdick Street there. And in the future land use map, even right down to this parcel, it was shown to be R2, a residential zone district. A number of the parcels to the east were CN1 on the previous zoning, and you can see how this one just was not filled in with that when it wasn't caught in our initial work. For the site here is the dwelling looking from the road. I did learn that directly adjacent to the property there is a small shared access easement, but the paved area there is actually on the next property. The house takes up most of the property width. And then here is a view looking down Reed, where you can see the obvious residential nature of the street. On this one, we did receive one piece of public feedback from, well, two. The other person, they were contacted, but they never reached back. We had a phone number, and one of the businesses there received the letter, was interested in what's going on, did pose the question about parking, but there is no parking change about it. He was curious about how many parking spaces are needed, and then a code enforcement issue staff will follow up with him on. And then going to the criteria in the zoning ordinance, the extent to which the amendment is consistent with the master plan. A little more obvious in this one, you can see the master plan showed this to be residential, and it's all residential east of Burdick there. The extent to which there are change conditions that require an amendment, as you saw in the future land use map, this individual parcel and everything east was shown to be residential multifamily. The property is big enough to support a dwelling unit by the zoning ordinance, and it took a cluster of properties that were residential dwellings and non-conforming. This use is not conforming was not conforming under the CN1 zone district, where this action will make it a conforming use as a single-family home is permitted. Number three, the extent to which the proposed amendment addresses a community need. Again, just like the last one, the adoption of the master plan and the future land use map steered that goal to take some of these large blocks of residential that were zoned commercial and get them right zoned, if you will. The extent to which the proposed amendment is compatible with existing surrounding land uses and is appropriate for the zone district for the land, and it improves compatibility among uses and will ensure efficient development within the city. I think in addition to the comments there about how it is compatible with all those reasons, the time that property was zoned commercial and no commercial use was ever developed, I think this highlights that point perfectly. And lastly, the extent to which the proposed amendment would result in logical and orderly development patterns, this maintains the residential character of this stretch of Reed Street off of the walkable nearby Burdick Street commercial corridor. So if there's any questions on this one, I'll be glad to answer them.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff? No? All right, then we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment on this, please come forward or call in. Again, 888-382-9556. I think it's the most I've ever read that number.
There are no call-in comments.
No one? All right. Then we will close the public hearing. Any other questions? If not, then we'll take a motion to open discussion. It's a recommendation to the City Commission on the rezoning of 107 Reed Avenue from CN1 to RM15.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval.
All right, motion by DeCenzo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Patelko. Any discussion on the motion?
I would just say that, as with the previous one, the staff's case is straightforward. It's just cleaning up a technical oversight. And if we were not to do this, to keep it zoned, a thing that doesn't exist would be the strangest kind of spot zoning I've ever heard of. So.
Yeah. Administratively, quite a challenge. Any other discussion? No. All right. Can we get a roll call vote?
Burgess,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
DeCenzo,
Yes.
Harrison, Milliken,
Yes.
Patelko,
Yes.
Swan.
Yes.
All right. Great. Thank you. No discussion. City planner report.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll keep this brief. I've got a couple updates, and I know that Commissioner Pareto has a few more for us this evening. Next up on our zoning docket, we have two projects that we're working on in-house to bring forward to you. One is an update of Appendix A, Chapter 8, which is the administrative and review process section of the code. We are working to edit and update that to bring forward to this body for consideration this spring. With that, we also are going to bring forward some changes to the lighting section. If you recall from the conversations this summer and fall, when we updated the commercial code, one of the things we received from the public were some comments and requests to look at the lighting ordinance, that section. At the point in the process that we received those comments, it was going to be a challenge to make those updates. We chose to bring the language over from Appendix A into 50 and said that we would take a look at it and bring it forward at a future update. And so we're working on that as well. So those two pieces would be together as text changes. The other thing that we're working on and that we've been talking about for a while is the update to the residential districts. This would be very similar to the project that we did for commercial, only much, much bigger. I believe the city has 24,000 parcels total. 18,000 of them are zoned residential. So it is a very large task. And so we're in the process of still going through all the background and the research to prepare a place for us to start the discussion. And so in March, we'll be able to have kind of that first conversation about it and talk about some of the background data and where we're going as we start to kick off that process. You may recall from a variety of sources that we were slated to have a case that was going to take up our entire agenda on March 7th, and that was a rezoning request at Drake and Stadium. That application was withdrawn from the applicant as they work through their future plans, and so at this time that case is not, there's no application scheduled, will not be on the agenda on March 7th, and we have no further information on what the applicant's plans are at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Sure. So we received regular check-ins from a variety of sources, both organizations that work to promote Asylum Lake, as well as some local news organizations, both Now Kalamazoo and WMUK. And at their most recent inquiry, we were able to say this application has been withdrawn. So I do believe it has been shared. We can continue to share that information so people aren't disappointed if they were to arrive on March 7th to find a very quiet meeting. Thanks.
Okay. Public comments. Public comment on non-agenda items. If you have any public comments for us on items not on the agenda, please come forward or please call in. Again, 888-382-9556. Seeing no one here in the audience, we'll wait just a beat, see if anyone calls in. No callers. Okay. Then Commissioner Pareto.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Happy February. I wanted to share a few updates to you. If you didn't already, I want to make sure that everyone knows that starting last month, we started distributing this city newsletter update to every mailbox in the city of Kalamazoo. We'll start to receive this every other month. And this is part of our goal of really improving communication. And we've heard from a number of people that they really appreciate something printed in their mailbox that they can read through as well. So please be on the lookout for that each or every other month as well. I also wanted to make sure for streets updates, our public services team and community planning does a great job of trying to, about every 6 months, offer an update on our major infrastructure projects, especially related to streets, non-motorized improvements and whatnot. There was a really great update on January 9th. You can watch that on our City Kalamazoo YouTube page. But those are a great way to find out what's going to be coming up in the year ahead. And we have some pretty significant major projects, including the most significant one being Southwestnage this year. And so if you want to learn about how that's going to impact us as a community, really encourage you to just take a 45-minute period to watch that if you get a chance. The other thing as well is community planning is really trying to stay on this aim of improving communication. And so there's a outreach and engagement survey that's out there for the public right now through February 16th. If you haven't had a chance to fill that out, please do, because really what the goal of this is not just about how we share information, but it's really a really big goal of us to just hear the community's ideas and hopes and opinions and aspirations and feedback as well. And so the best way we can know if we're doing this correctly is if you can take a moment to provide your feedback on that. And with it being an Imagine Kalamazoo strategic planning year for the city for our next master plan coming up soon, it'd be really helpful to make sure we get that spot on with the community coming up in the year ahead. So please, if you could, take a moment and visit our city's website. There's a link at the bottom there where it can direct you to that survey. And then the information on it is also in that every other month newsletter as well. And then lastly, we just passed our $288 million budget, our fiscal year 24 budget. Got a lot of very exciting things going on this year, from everything from our parks to $77 million in infrastructure improvements. And so wanted to kind of share what comes next now. Well, we're immediately turning to planning our fiscal year 2025 budget, and that starts officially on February 17th, I believe, which is a Saturday coming up here. We have our next City Commission retreat, which will be a full-day retreat where we talk about what we want to prioritize in the next budget. So we'll have that coming up again on that Saturday from 8:30 to 3:30. Would encourage the public to show up if you want to, but also now is a great time to share with us what you want us to lift up in that meeting as well if you have a chance. So that's all I have. Wish you all a great month ahead and appreciate your time.
Can I ask, we had one question for you. When was it? Was it December? The City Commission made a decision to no longer receive phone-in comments.
Sure.
Can you give a little background on that decision, how it was made, and in your opinion, how that should or should not trickle down to other boards and committees?
Sure, that's a great question. So generally speaking, it has been a very labor-intensive endeavor to provide as many virtual and also phone-in opportunities for all the boards and commissions that we have as a city. I mean, we have around 20 boards and commissions. And so there was a period throughout the pandemic for really a 2-year period where the staff intensiveness to make sure to manage all of that was tremendous. And even still, you can imagine to provide the staffing support and whatnot to make sure that goes off without a hitch for multiple meetings can be pretty challenging. We got to a point where there were, multiple meetings where in many cases there were hardly any people who were calling anymore at that point. One of the things that we found too that's changed over the last couple of years is that we have a 311 line, which is a great way to communicate information to us if you can't make a meeting. You can specifically call 311. They will transcribe your comment as well as possible. And every day, us as commissioners and city manager's office, we get emails that are transcribed and forwarded to us. If a citizen asks us or asks 311 to make sure that this message I left goes to the city commission or a specific city staff member. So between that and also just make sure that people know also that it's not like there's not other ways to communicate besides showing up. Not only can you call 311 and directly talk to a human being and make sure it actually shows up to all of us as elected officials, we also can make it easy on people by just emailing city commission, all one word, and at kalamazooCity.org, and that goes to all 7 of us. So you don't even have to hunt down all 7 city commissioner emails, and it'll go all 7 of us directly. So again, that's city commission, all one word, at kalamazooCity.org. And then lastly, just like you look around the board with other municipalities, most municipalities ended that long, long ago. And part of it is just because, again, trying to manage business and get through meetings efficiently, but also because it really provided an opportunity for people to kind of do like the old like MLive, invisible, commenting, if you will. In a lot of ways, that's what it's become in a lot of places, where you can basically just kind of hit and run and, I guess not be very productive in how you provide input and feedback as well. So I think, it seems like that's the way it's going with most municipalities as well. So that's why it appears that we made the decision.
Was there any thinking of that should trickle down to other boards or that sort of thing? Because we're sort of struggling with the same decision-making a little bit. Like, do we keep it? Do we not keep it?
I would say like the biggest thing is when we learned that the city manager's office was interested in trying to eliminate the call-in, our first question was, okay, well then how can people do it and make sure that for people who can't show up, how do they efficiently feel like they've had an opportunity to provide their input, right? So that for us, that was 311 and making sure that people could email us. So maybe the question for the group should be is like, how can we make sure that when people call for input related to planning, commission-related things at 311, that it can be forwarded to the entire board efficiently? So that can be, the call-in option for people. And then the other question is how do we make sure that you all receive, emails if people have input that comes through that way? So for me personally, if I were in your seat, I would ask those similar questions that we did as commissioners. Is like, okay, you want to get rid of it? Well, let's talk through that. What other ways can we make sure that people have ways that they can feel like they've been heard and can engage with the city? So that would be my recommendation. But like tonight is a good example. We didn't have any calls in. And, it's tricky sometimes because you might have one night where there's a hot topic issue and you have a lot of people, but keep in mind there have to be human beings that make all that happen, and we have a lot of public meetings, so.
Yes, absolutely. All right, thanks.
Is that helpful?
I think so. You guys, any other questions on that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I struggle with that. I'm a working parent myself, and you imagine I have my, night gig being a city commissioner as well. And, I'm all about trying to provide as many opportunities for people to engage as possible. But I also want to make sure that's productive engagement. And so I think it's important that each board or commission decides, based on what you see and hear from people, what is most valuable for people who communicate with you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Planning commissioner comments, I guess. If there's any comments on that topic or other topics in general, but.
Just to continue with that topic, I think, anytime we do anything to take away an opportunity for people to communicate, we got to be very careful and make sure we provide other things. Perhaps the 311 thing, if we built that language into our scripting or something for each meeting about another way people can communicate, if we can think about other things like that, might be useful.
I'd like to sort of shout out again the survey that Commissioner Pradel mentioned. The survey mentions ways the city is looking for feedback, not just in these meetings, in times, times where people find available, not always necessarily evenings, daytime, other times. What format, what location. There's a lot of questions in there that sort of ask people, what can the city do to most facilitate their feedback? And so I'd really appreciate anyone who's listening tonight saying, how can I make sure the city hears my voice to answer this survey, and let us know.
Good. Other thoughts or any other comments in general? No? All right. Well, it was a very quick and efficient meeting. Happy Groundhog's Day, everybody. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate you attending. And having exhausted the agenda, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Question I wanted to put out there, just thinking we'll be off the record, so we'll be on the record, right? Like, Trish brought up bringing